mini lecture is on the concept of the environment, which is an important part of the model of human occupation. Your reading for this week is chapter 7, which covers the different dimensions or features of the environment as defined by Kielhofner, and talks about how this influences people's occupational choices. So it's important that you read this chapter to understand the concept of the environment and how that influences on occupation. This lecture will go over some of these features and dimensions to help you to understand this important concept. So the concept of the environment is defined as containing a series of different dimensions. So the Kielhofner defines the environment as having economic and political dimensions, as having a physical dimensions, social dimensions, and cultural dimensions. So Kielhofner says that these different dimensions impact on a person's motivation, organisation, and performance of occupations. So we put the person here. So a person within their environment and their ability to engage in their occupations is influenced by the different components of the environment. So the ways in which these components influence the environment occurs differently across different environmental contexts. So the economic and political conditions within the environment might create demands or constrain a person's ability to participate in occupations. They might provide opportunities and choices for people to participate. The physical dimensions of the environment provides objects and spaces that influence a person's occupation. The social dimension provides people and groups for that person to belong to or interact with, to engage with, to participate in occupations with. The cultural conditions of the environment influence the forms of occupations that usually take part in that environmental space, the obligations that people have to complete different occupations, what the norms are, what's considered usual or appropriate. So if we think about these different dimensions of the environment and how the different ways that they influence a person's motivation, organisation and performance of occupations, it can help us to assess the dynamic relationship between the person, the environment and their occupation. So let's use an example to help you understand this a bit better. So I'll use the example of, let's say, cooking dinner. So the occupation is cooking dinner. And the environment is my home in Bendigo. So let's consider how the environment, which is made up of these dimensions, influences my occupation of cooking dinner within my home in Bendigo, which might be different to a home elsewhere, well, will be different to a home elsewhere. Okay, so the person is me. So usually I cook dinner within my kitchen at home, so that's my physical space. The objects that I have in my kitchen, I use them. So I do have some appliances, but I don't have lots of fancy appliances. So some things I'll cook from scratch because I can, and I do have the time and the space to do that. But sometimes I'll use pre-packaged or convenience items that I might purchase from my supermarket. My supermarket's not that far from my house. It's maybe a 5-minute drive, so that will influence what I choose to cook and how I choose to cook it. So culturally, using pre-packaged or convenience food is quite accepted in a Western culture, so that I wouldn't say that's outside the norm. But we do choose to eat certain foods, usually healthy foods, so that's usually influenced by the economic and political conditions of the environment. The government recommends or suggests and campaigns for people to eat healthy food within our space. It's recommended and that we choose healthy options and eat fruits and vegetables by our government. And that influences what opportunities I have to eat healthy food and my choices. So the way it influences my opportunities is that, say, some items are taxed, unhealthy items are taxed. So they'll increase the prices of unhealthy food compared to healthy food, and that influences the choices of the food that I choose to cook for my dinner. Socially, I usually eat with my partner, and he's a vegetarian, so that influences what we choose to eat at home. And his choice is really influenced by the political environment and the fact that we have the opportunity to not eat meat within our environment without going without food. So if you think about all these factors, they influence what I choose to eat, so my motivation for cooking dinner. They influence how I organise cooking dinner, so when I go to the supermarket, what items I purchase, what order I do that within my day, and they influence how I cook my dinner and how well I do it, or how I use convenience options. So the environment of my home in Bendigo, including my kitchen and my access to food. Through these different factors, the economic, political, physical, social and cultural factors influence my occupation of cooking dinner. So what I'd like you to do is make a concept map for yourself, consider an environment in which you perform a certain occupation, and map out how the different dimensions of the environment, the economic, political, physical, social and cultural, influence how you are motivated for that occupation, how you organise the performance of that occupation, and how you perform that occupation. This will help you to understand the concept of the environment, which is important for understanding the model of human occupation. Thank you.